Well, we are going to keep this presentation brief, brilliant, and accessible. So it's called the household hustle, but really we could call it, I just got off an international flight. We could call it the airport hustle. We could call it the office hustle. The whole idea of this presentation is really to incorporate movement throughout your day where you normally would be sedentary, and to know that even 5 minutes, 1 minute here, 5 minutes there, 1 minute here, it will really make a world of a difference in the way that you feel incorporating movements in vital areas in your life. You're going to feel vitality, energized, and of course, reduction in pain, because pain is really what is starting to settle into the body when we feel stiff. So our 5 areas, I'm Lindsay, by the way, if I did not say that. I do teach yoga in the area, also certified to teach barre. At Move Power Yoga Studio, and also at Mayo, which is right by Off the Hook. There's, yes, it stands for Make It Your Own. Yeah. So I like to focus on, I call it the big 5: hips, hamstrings, spinal rotation, chest, neck, and shoulders. And if you think about the big 5, those are really the areas where, you're experiencing tension or tightness, and really what's bogging down, sort of preventing the energy in your body from circulating. So we will break down each of these 5 areas, and I'm going to give a prescribed movement for each area. And again, this is just something to think about as you go about. A lot of us reps, we're driving all day, whatever it is, how can you incorporate 1 minute of movement into what you're doing so that when you get up, you're like, I feel good. I don't feel so stiff. I don't feel, I'm preventing the aging process. I feel like I have a hold on it versus it having a hold on me. So I like to say this chair hip opener. Okay, maybe you work at in an office, or even in your car, or you're sitting at home even watching TV or something, seated in a chair. So I say focusing on external rotation, that's really the most important thing. So we spend most of our life internally rotated, meaning your hips are facing forward. That's how you sit, that's how you walk. So external rotation is really important for lower back health and, of course, range of motion. So to focus on external rotation, most of these postures and positions I have featured in a chair. You would take having a seat, and again, even if you were like Dr. Stupai is going on a long car ride tomorrow, even if she were to rotate before she would get out of the car, be seated, she would start with one leg crossed over her thigh. And in this seated position, this other thing that's very important is we want to keep the kneecap engaged. So to keep kneecap engaged and flexed, you have to flex all 5 toes toward the kneecap. So not a lazy ankle here. So when you think about the foot just dangling, really think about actively pulling all 5 toes towards the kneecap, and that's going to engage the kneecap, keeping it safe. As you start to lean your chest forward, you're going to feel the sensation through the outer hip and in through the glute. And I'm going to just, by anyone here is you're recommended to try it. You'll feel, again, it's sensation. You should feel this all through the outer edge of the hip and into into gluteus maximus. Yes, feel it. It's easy. So once you're there, though, it's not just once you feel the sensation, it's one thing, but then maybe close your eyes, really try to feel how you can relax into the position, releasing the tension, taking 5 deep breaths, maybe closing your eyes. We like to focus. Our eyes are the bossiest sense that we have. The eyes like to see everything. There's nothing to see, everything to feel. So if you think about before you switch to the other side, and one side you might notice more range of motion than the other, but just closing your eyes, letting the breath come in through the nostrils, and either exhaling through the nostrils or the mouth. 5 deep breaths each side.
I'm going to take a picture.
Yes. This chair hip opener, I love it. Why? It's accessible, right? It's easy. There's not, again, watching TV, exit in a car trip. I just was on the airplane. I wish if you're first class, sitting in first class, you might have more room to do this. I was more like this, but you know what I'm saying. This is going to make a world of a difference, truly. And again, there's no contraindications really, unless you were, I suppose, just fresh off of a hip surgery and still limited in your range of motion. But yes, so we start with the hips. And then working still, I have, again, these postures featured in the chair hamstring stretch. So when we think about moving past our hips, the other place we get tight is the back of our legs, our hamstrings. So again, you could do this standing or seated if you're concerned, balance, or like I said, if you're just casually watching TV. We all grew up a while ago when there were commercials, or I always joke with my kids, they don't know what commercials are, right? But during the commercial break, you could think about it. If you were seated, and again, I'll just for purposes today, seated position, extending one leg, flexing again, all 5 toes towards the kneecap. And as you start to hinge forward right at the hips, so you'll feel the crease in the hips deepen, and reaching the chest toward the thigh, pulling the toes back towards your face. Again, closing the eyes. You're going to feel the back of the leg, either right or left, wherever you've stayed. So the other thing I'd like to say is, instead of keeping the spine in a neutral position, so just engaging the belly as you start to lean forward, and that's going to support the lower back. Ensure that the neck is in a neutral position too, allowing the chin to drop slightly towards the chest. And then again, those 5 deep breaths, repeating one each side. Very accessible, can be done seated, can be done standing. This is going to feel a world of a difference. I did this on the plane. I got up, used the restroom, came back, and just really quick before I sat down, making sure no one was, make sure you're aimed appropriately. But it made, I said, wow, I feel better. It was a long flight. And that's it. 5 breaths each side. I saw some woman looking at me. You might get a couple funny looks, but I could tell she was jealous. She was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. So this is the recommended accessible stretch for your hamstring. Next, I like to talk about is rotation in the spine. So here I have featured are the seated chair twist, sitting up straight. You can start, and you can even, I like to say, she has 2 separate types of chairs here. This is really going to depend on range of motion. Some of us don't have a lot of twist or rotational movement, and that's totally okay. But started in a seated position, core engaged again, because when I say core engaged, sometimes people are like, what is that? So when you think about exhaling and that tension that you can, on the exhale, capture through the core, that's the sensation that you want to keep in the belly, and that's going to support the back as you twist. You can start right or left side, keeping feet firmly planted on the floor. Whether you want to just start with one arm reaching behind you, and if you have the range of motion, you can, of course, deepen it with both arms. But I would say sometimes here is where you have to adjust the way you're seated in your position. For example, instead of facing forward, you can angle yourself off to the side for better accessibility. I like, again, starting with just one arm grabbing the chair, transitioning to support and deepen the rotation. Again, keeping, especially with these twists, keeping the abdominals engaged. And that's really how you're going to support the range of motion. And again, think about, as you rotate, also lengthening crown of the head, reaching it toward the ceiling. And we want to keep long spine here. When you come back to center, I always say like a little bit of a reset, just a pause before you hit the opposite way. This really, in terms of rotational movement in the spine, very healthy as well. Just thinking about range of motion, lateral movement, anything that translates also to things that you're doing in your daily life. This is something like we have to turn all the time. So we want to practice it in a controlled manner so that in a time when you are asked to do this, maybe more abruptly, that you're ready for it. It's not too abrupt for the body. It has this range of motion and ability to turn and twist. This is, I think, one of the things that is doctors focus on with the aging process, because as soon as you lose that ability to rotate the trunk, it really does inhibit your range of motion, and as well as prevent you. It makes you a lot more susceptible for injuries too, as soon as you start to get a little bit stagnant through the core. This one is one of my favorite ones, the doorway chest openers. We spend so much time either driving, like I said, a lot of reps here, or hunched over at the computer, and you start to feel the head of the humerus starts to just be slouched forward, and all the time in this position. And so what we start to find is that we're very tight through the chest area. And I would say it's probably a little bit more accessible to start just one arm at a time. But if you, I don't know if I'm off camera for this one, Ryan, but starting with feet firmly planted underneath you, taking your shoulder and then going and stepping the same foot forward as the shoulders, you start to lean into that. You're really going to feel not just touching the doorway, but actually like a little bit more active, like pressing into the doorway. You'll really feel that open up through the armpit and through the shoulder, leaning your weight into the wall and then keeping the gaze forward. And that's just for balance too, because sometimes too, any heart opening things that we do with that chest openers, you're expanding lung capacity. And some people can get a little bit dizzy with that. So gaze forward just for balance, heart lifted. And of course, we can do that one arm as well. Again, you're going to breathe deeply in the position. You're going to feel a difference pretty much immediately with this one. Before I advanced, oh, there we go. Any questions on that one? It's
kind of you're leaning forward on the side that your arm is against the...
Yes, so the arm that, if you do this one arm at a time, the same side foot is stepped forward. If you do it both arms at a time, both feet are going to be supported under the hips, and you're just going to start to feel, think about too, the heart moving forward and then slightly up, and that's going to engage the postural muscles as well. And this is a great stretch specifically. You're going to feel extra energized because your lungs are open. More oxygen into the blood equals better energy, better blood flow, and a feeling of vitality. And I always feel people report feeling more awake after this posture. Just think about it. You're like this. You're taking very shallow breaths. All of a sudden, you're expansive. You're open. You're taking deep breaths. You're like, I feel so much better. And then I think probably most people in our daily lives report most of their neck or stress really resides in the neck and the shoulders. And this is such a nice one. Again, driving on an airplane, at your office desk, a seated neck and shoulder release. So in your seat, you're starting with neck in a neutral position. What does neck in a neutral position? Just simply means ears stacked over shoulders. So starting with the neck in a neutral position, you can start either side, take one hand, grab toward the opposite ear, and then as you extend the opposite arm, you're going to gently pull one ear toward the same side and shoulder. As you continue to do that, allow the opposite arm. You can either grab too, if you're on a chair, you can grab underneath for a little bit more support, and that's going to help you feel that length through the lateral edges of the cervical spine and right into the trapezius muscles and on the side of the neck spine. I like using the opposite hand to also deepen the stretch and support underneath the chair. You're really going to feel that sort of counter positioning of the hand to deepen the stretch. I like another opportunity here to close your eyes. And then I always say, before you just switch sides, coming back to neutral, you're going to feel some vulnerability in one side. Because again, we don't, most of the time we're like this or like this. So you'll feel a lot of tension through the sides of your cervical spine and neck and in through the shoulders and trapezius. So pausing before you hit the other side in that neutral position. Directionally, once you have both right and left side, transitioning to either you can start opening up the front side of the body. Here's a lot of people report a little bit of dizziness here. That's where you just being seated is probably the best idea for everybody. Taking your gaze slowly, crawling it upwards on the ceiling tiles, and then feeling the front of the throat and neck opening, heart moving forward and up. And then you can even take your hand on the back of the head and support as you move back into neutral position before you tilt the chin towards the chest. Here's where I like a little bonus with the hands. I start with hands on the back of my head. And then as you slowly draw your elbows in and then press your finger pads into the back of your head, into the back of the skull, dropping the chin to the chest, marrying the elbows closer together, you'll get a really dramatic stretch in through back of neck and even into the scapular area. And it's just a nice gentle pressure. That feels really good. I think this specifically just because, again, most of us are carrying most of our stress in through the neck spine. That's nice, Jim, too. And just drawing your elbows a little closer. And don't be afraid to put a little bit of pressure in the finger pads. It's not going to be too dramatic of a sensation. Closing your eyes, taking the several breaths. So, and again, anytime mindfully returning back to neutral, taking a breath, noticing as you rotate with cervical spine again, any dizziness, noticing how you're feeling, pausing, finding your gaze again, and starting in neutral position.
So Lindsay, how long? Do 15 seconds for a good stretch? I mean, what do you? I mean, not necessarily.
For 5 breaths.
So 5 breaths. I mean, that's so not shallow breaths. Like
10 seconds. That's at least 10 seconds.
Each breath is at least like ideally like inhale for 2, exhale for 2. So 10 seconds, really, minimally. Each breath is about 2 in, 2 out.
That's 4 seconds times 5. That's 20.
Yeah, 15 to 20. Especially, I think, on the lateral ones. And you'll notice, too, when you're grasping underneath the chair, you're going to feel that open. It'll extend the stretch from all the way to the top of the neck, all the way to traps, and even through the tops of the shoulders. People, again, report after these stretches, especially in the neck spine. Anytime you think about the energy that you're feeling in your system, think about, your spinal system is regulating everything. It's your nervous system. Your spine, rather, is regulating everything. It's your nervous system. So anytime that you are taking the time to manipulate and move properly, you're really going to feel that energy and vitality in the body. Say healthy spine, healthy life. That includes neck spine. Of course, we've discussed the heart opening. That's thoracic spine. So this is focused on cervical spine, neck spine. The thoracic spine we access through opening through the chest and heart. That really hits up here, the top of the back. And then the rotational movement is where we focus on the lumbar spine. And so you hit all 3 vital areas of the spine. And that being said, I always like to just say additional considerations. I talk about that neutral position a lot. It's the healthiest position for the spine and should be default spinal position. So the spine can move forward, you can slouch, and sometimes, we have that extension. We're taking a big cat stretch. But in general, neutral positioning, meaning just a little bit, like if you were to be in a standing position, you would have a softness in the knees, engage the belly, and just feel not a tucking of the tailbone, but sort of a lift of the heart and then a grounding through the feet. So you can really feel the spine just in a natural C-curve position. I always say a lot of the times we get overzealous when we start stretching and we want all this range of motion. Focus on the quality and integrity of the movement over range of motion. We're not trying to be in Cirque du Soleil, acrobatics on the cover of Yoga Journal. We are just trying to maintain range of motion, freedom from pain.
Motion.
Yes, motion is lotion, and vitality. So listen to your body, know the difference between pain and sensation. A lot of the times, like you try something and you're like, that hurts. I'm like, does it hurt? Or is it just that you are not accustomed to that sensation in your body? And yes, motion is lotion. But that is it. I just want to say thank you. This is, again, I wanted to keep it brief so that you could really feel that these 5 areas of focus are something you can integrate throughout your day. Thank you.
I need to take 2 more.
Oh, yes, of course.
I have that.
Yes.
And I have that. Okay, but this is what I'll use in the car.
This one's my favorite. I love this one.
While driving.
Yeah. Okay, that one.
I love.
Keep going back. have that one. No, wait.
Do you have the big five: hips, hamstrings, spinal rotation, chest, neck, and shoulders?
Oh,
So
okay.
hips was the
So
seated
the
figure
first
4,
one
hamstring, spinal rotation, chest, and then the neck and shoulders with all 4. Front,
okay,
forward,
so
back.
Go to the next slide. Okay. And let me see if I have the one after that. Oh, it's not moving. I think I have them now.
Excellent. Any other questions? Does it really, I think my question is, do you think this is reasonably, I think we get grand ideas and, we think we're going to do big things, but really the things that work best are the things that we do consistently. And I think if it's accessible and it feels good, you will make more of a consistent effort that this just becomes part of your daily routine, part of your household hustle, your office hustle, your airport hustle, wherever your long car ride hustle. And that ideally it's the consistency that's really going to work for you. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.